It looks like the Votann Troops box is going to be bursting with high-tech heavy weapons. Let's take a look at the full squad of Hearthkyn Warriors and the massive amount of new details that the new models reveal. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today we're talking about Games Workshop's earlier preview of the Leagues of Votann core troops choice, the Hearthkyn Warriors. In another one of their teaser articles, Games Workshop have now shown off the entire full squad of the standard Leagues of Votann troops, and I must admit for a basic troops kit it seems to be doing a really good job. It looks like there's lots of customization here, lots of different specialists that you can include in the unit, and a bunch of fun heavy and special weapons as well. The Hearthkyn Warriors do appear to be the standard troops of the Leagues of Votann. We don't know whether or not they'll get any other troops variants yet, but basically they were one of the two units that were revealed so far. We'd only seen one model for them armed with an iron blaster, but now we've got no less than 10 models and a few variant pictures as well. There's a few more interesting details as to their lore. Apparently these guys are basic warriors drawn from the Hold citizens, and in a bit of a difference to most of the other 40k races, these guys do actually have a life outside warfare. They seem a little bit more equivalent to modern day professional soldiers, as opposed to space marines and the like, who basically have war as their only thing, and they don't really do anything else. The Votann seem to adapt themselves to the roles that they do in society, so apparently these guys have got some genetic engineering going along that help them out in combat, things like better stamina and heightened senses, and a few of them do augment themselves with some extra bionics, which seems to be what that standard Votann guy that we saw previously, he appears to have some bionic legs. It's also kind of cool that Ironkin are amongst the ranks of these guys. It seems that you can field at least one Ironkin warrior within the squad. I wonder whether or not there'd be rules for fielding entire units of Ironkin like this, the Dwarf AI Machine Citizens. Otherwise, for rules that we already knew about the squad, the Hearthkyn Warriors are a troops choice and they're 10 to 20 models in the unit. They've got the stat line shown below with the 5-inch move and a 4+ save and strength and toughness 4. The leader is called a Theyn, which we can see some new reveal gear for him later in the video. He's really quite a decent leader with an extra attack and leadership as standard, but also an extra wound as well. And the entire unit in general have been hinted that they're going to be hardier than normal to shift in melee, though it looks like the unit is primarily a ranged threat. In one of those stratagem cards there was one for falling back and shooting as well, which seems like it could be quite handy for these guys if they're on the front lines. Let's go through all the preview models then, one by one. First up, from some of the details that we had before, it seems that the Votann do have plasma blades. We can see the one on the left here has a small plasma knife. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they mirror power swords in stats, or whether or not they'll have some boosted profiles. The one on the left also seems to have a bolt revolver as well, presumably a fairly hard-hitting pistol, and as I mentioned earlier, it does seem that not all of them go in for the bionic legs and things. Most of them do just seem to have normal boots and aren't fully augmented or cybernetic. The ion blaster seems to be the squad's basic weapon. The vast majority of this squad seem to be armed with them, and although we don't know the full stat line for it yet, they did give us a bit of a rules teaser that it will be a lot more suited to punching through heavy armour as opposed to dealing with hordes of chaff infantry. Quite a lot of them do seem to have fairly well stocked backpacks and things. A few of them have some random picks on them. I don't know whether or not that's going to represent anything special in game, or whether or not that represents some entrenching tools. Finally, it does seem that we're going to get a mix of beardy dwarves and female dwarves. Looks like the head swap is the only difference between the two. I suspect that with the generosity on all the other options, there'll probably be the opportunity to field them with decent amounts of either. Next up, I think that a lot of people will be a fan of the Ironkin. There's at least one model in the kit. Model-wise, he only seems to differ from the rest of the models in a full set of cybernetic legs, and of course the big domed AI helmet that looks a bit similar to the Castellan robots or that Men of Iron model from Blackstone Fortress. Be interesting to see whether or not they just have the exact same stats as the regular Hearthkyn. Apparently they do just march alongside them, no different really, or whether they'll have some upgrades or downsides like an improved save maybe. This one in particular is armed with a high-las auto rifle. Looks like some sort of equivalent of a machine version of the las gun, maybe something sort of similar to a multi-laser perhaps. At the moment it's not really clear whether or not it's just a basic weapon option that the entire squad can be fielded with, or perhaps a special weapon, maybe one that's only carried by the Ironkin perhaps. It didn't really clearly say, but it does sound like the Autok pattern bolters will be a different option that you can equip the entire squad with. They talked about punching through heavier armour either with the ion blasters or the high las weapon, or volume fire with the auto bolters. I suppose that would imply that the las weapon does at least have some decent AP. The other one of these two appears to be a comms expert of some sort. Might be something for receiving orders like the Admex data tether, or something like the Imperial Guard boxcaster. It does make me wonder whether or not this kit might be a kill team kit potentially, if you're getting a comms expert and there's rumours of a medic within the same kit, so maybe it will have options available for kill team. Next up, we've got our first Hearthkyn Warrior, who's the previewed one with the bionic legs. And then I'll fully admit I'm not 100% sure what's going on with this other guy. He seems to have some sort of great big scanner pack device over his backpack. Certainly seems to be a squad specialist of some sort. Don't know whether he's another technical upgrade for something like an Auspex scan mechanic from intercepting reserves, or maybe he's representing a medical engineer perhaps. We did see in those leaked stratagems that there'd be a stratagem to allow them to regenerate squad members, so we do know that they at least have some sort of medic option within the squad, even if it isn't this guy. Next up, we've got another guy with a standard ion blaster and a rather snazzy pair of sunglasses, and then the unit's Theyn leader. He seems to have a fair few different options, including a plasma sword or plasma axe, and in the offhand he's either got an Hearthkyn plasma pistol or an Autok pattern bolter, so at least a little bit of customizability there. It also sounds like they're going to have the option of a concussion gauntlet as well, which looks kind of similar to a power fist. That was already previewed on one of the art images before. It seems that the Thayn's icon is having that talisman thing above his or her head. I think one fun detail is that it looks like you've got the option of a different talisman on it. One of them appears to have a wolf, I think, and the other one has a boar, which is kind of fun, and you can customize their own heraldry. Apparently they have some sort of cybernetic link with the rest of their squad. Don't know whether that's going to represent itself in rules or not. I wonder if they might have some sort of interesting squad command rules, maybe similar to the Eldar Exarchs. Finally, last but some of the most exciting things, we do appear to have some heavy weapons. 3 specific ones were mentioned in this preview: a Magna rail rifle, an Hearthkyn plasma blaster, and L7 missile launchers. And we've also seen a couple of schematics for things like graviton blast cannons and conversion beamers. Interesting that these guys also have some rail rifles going on. They certainly do have a bit of crossover with Tau tech between these and ion weapons. I think the long barrel does look really quite cool, and I think it's being carried by a standard Votann here, not an Ironkin. He doesn't have any cybernetic legs. I think that's just him with his helmet visor down. The Hearthkyn plasma beamer is the one on the bottom left here. It does look like it's a very dangerous weapon as well. I can't help but think these technical looking heavy weapons are going to have a serious amount of punch to them. They just look like enormously big and chunky guns. As they didn't mention the graviton or conversion weapons here, I don't know whether or not they might be in the Votann equivalent of Devastators or Havocs. Maybe they will just be like Space Marines or Chaos though, and have a generic heavy weapon list that you might be able to mix and match between units. Overall though, I think it's pretty exciting stuff. Loads of new details for the main troops of the army. It's pretty cool to get a decent sized preview of them and a look at all of the models rather than just one. Let me know what you think of them down in the comments below. I'm fairly well impressed, to be honest. I think they look like a solid kit with loads of options, and if you are thinking about picking up Votann, it seems likely that they'll be a staple. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming, including any news of Games Workshop's new releases or rumours. Looking forward to talking more Votann stuff, and I'll certainly aim to review the codex in full once it's out. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and you can find that down in the video description if you're interested. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos earlier, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.